Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of This Week in Karting. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole. Episode 84, second show of the 2025 season. January the 21st. It's a Tuesday. Unbelievably cold, at least up here in Canada. I know all the way through the Midwest as well. And I think I saw somewhere where they're getting snow down in Louisiana too. So yeah, it's cold. So winter has definitely hit. The Winter Series, of course, as we know, underway. Of course, down in Florida with the SuperKarts USA Winter Series, the Rock Cup Florida Winter Tour on track this past weekend. The Challenge of the Americas getting ready to kick off at the end of the month out in Tucson, Arizona. So, yeah, it's cold up north, but there is still a lot of karting that is happening down in the southern states. As you know, with This Week in Karting, we put all the major news to hit the EKN homepage over the past couple of weeks. We'll get that into this podcast here, bring you up to speed on everything that's happening in the sport. Today's edition of This Week in Karting brought to you by Comet Kart Sales. History, success, family. These are the three words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside Indianapolis and has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in their near 6 decades of business. Their brand new, updated online store features everything you need, and they are continually adding new parts to their product line. Make sure you head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. All right, David Cole, very impressive. A couple of weeks ago, episode 83, January the 2nd, we started off the season with our first episode of This Week in Karting. Sometimes it's once a month. Not too bad, man. Just over a couple of weeks. Pretty good start to the year.
Yeah, we have some time right now with the travel stints between Orlando and Tucson. That Tucson will be next. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, so have the time to be able to kind of go over some of the news that we have, which is what we do here in This Week in Karting, and talk about that and other topics as well too. So yeah, it's just all a matter of timing, Rob. You know, that's how life works.
I know. When you're on the road as much as we are, of course, with David with all his stuff for EKN, myself with EKN, and with the USF Pro Championships, we're just not always home. And of course, we have a lot of face-to-face shows, roundtables we put on the YouTube channel as well. So there's only so much time we have to knock things out. But I always love getting into these This Week in Karting shows. They're great for the EKN Nation members to be able to see what's going on and kind of just get up to speed as maybe they're heading to work. Great podcast to listen to on the way to work or coming home. David, I mentioned the Challenge of the Americas already. They're starting off what is now an expanded 4-event program. At the end of the month, we'll head out to Musselman Honda Circuit. They're, of course, going to K1 Speed, Sonoma, and Utah this year for the Top Line Series on the West Coast. News coming out since our last show that the Challenge of the Americas confirming their 2025 series sponsors.
Yes, they did. And it's a lot more than just that as well, too, with the new Challenge Championship Circle, which is their kind of prize package that they're putting together for the 2025 season. But first, we'll look at the 2025 series sponsors, which include 4 Direction Motorsports, Nash Motorsports, Nelton, Race Concepts, Ruthless Karting, SweetTech Racing Engines, and the Karting Collective. So very familiar names we're used to seeing supporting the Challenge, and longtime partners. A new partner with Neilton Race Concepts, one of the new race teams that's going to bring a number of new entries and a new program to the Challenge. So that'll be exciting to see. But kind of the focus for a lot of the competitors when they want to know news is the new Challenge Championship Circle. So the prize package for all the categories this year, you either have a prize package or there's a cash prize package to select. So let's go over the prize package first. And that includes a full 2026 Challenge entry package, which includes all your entry, fuel, tires, oil, pit pass for the driver, etc. All that's included. So you get a full season, free season of racing for earning your championship in one of the categories, 6 categories that'll be racing in 2025. So that is the first place prize. Second place is a 2026 Challenge 2 event entry package. So 2 event entry package for that driver who finishes second. And the third place driver in the championship has the opportunity to select a 1 event entry package for the 2026 season.
Now,
Look, yeah,
they
go
can
ahead.
they can get cash if they want to, right? That's
Yeah,
cool.
or they have the option of taking a cash prize. First place is $2,500, second place $1,500, and third place $1,000. So, it could be a driver looking to move on from karting that will take the cash prize, or somebody who just loves cash in their pocket. They can do that as well too. But one of the cool things that they're adding to the Challenge Championship Circle, they're getting a number of other sponsors for this program. That includes Odenthal Racing Products, P1 Engines, Speed Sense Motorsports, West Coast Motorsports as well. They're adding additional prize purse, which is already up to $6,000 collected. So that figure could grow as the season goes along. Andy Seisman, the promoter, is still working on adding additional prize money to the year-end awards program. So kind of a moving entity for the prize package. We do know the prizes; those entry packages are set, but it's a matter of how much more money people will get by finishing on the top three of the championship in the 6 classes.
Yeah, I think it's a great move for Andy, right? Obviously, with a smaller amount of categories that he's running, just the 6 classes. Yeah, let's say he's running. Is it 6 or 7, Dave? 6 classes. So there's only X amount of inventory for class sponsors, right? And you mentioned Forward Direction Motorsports, Nash, Nelton, Ruthless, Sweet Tech, and the Karting Collective all coming on board. But the bottom line is there was other people that wanted to be involved. Hey, what can we do? So Andy came up with the Challenge Championship Circle, as you had mentioned. Odenthal, P1, Speed Sense, West Coast Motorsports all coming on board. So, hey, you come on board, X amount of dollars. And Andy's like, listen, I'm just going to take that money and pass it on to the racers, which I think is awesome. Like, again, there's only so much inventory for sponsorship. Everybody wants to get on and support. So shout out to those other companies that really wanted to get on board with this program, Dave, and to Andy, of course, for passing that money through to the customers as well. That's what it's all about, and lining up for what's going to be, I think, a really fantastic season.
Yeah, and it's a transition because we saw that last year when it became kind of an independent program. Because the years passed, especially when it first started with Rotax, it was handing out Rotax Grand Final tickets. And then it moved over to handing out tickets for the Rock Super Final and the Rock Vegas events. And now that it's an independent program, it doesn't have that connection to a major international event to be able to hand out tickets. It's very similar to what we see with SCUSA and USPKS handing out tickets to the IME International Final as well, too, or IME Warrior Final now is what it's called. So that you have to get creative, and this is one way that Andy has done that. And again, it's the headline West half championship in North America. Spanning now 4 events, going from the month of January to the month of June at 4 different locations across the western half of the country, including the western and mountain regions. So again, it's going to be it's a different era for the challenge. We said that last year, and now we're into it was a quick 1-year era. Now we're into a different year.
It's an evolution, right?
Again,
evolution. Exactly. You talked about the Rotax program, then it was Rock, and then of course that changed and evolved now into, like I said, it's an independent series right now. 4 different races rolling right into June. And again, looking forward to getting out there to the Challenge of the Americas opener at the Musselman Honda Circuit at the end of the month. Dave, you mentioned a little bit about Rotax there, and obviously the Rotax program continues to grow and reset itself here in the U.S. We've got a 2025 RMC USA West event update as well. The Rotax challenge here for the U.S. Western event at the Phoenix Kart Racing Association in Glendale, Arizona, February 21st to 23rd. Yeah,
as again, 2025 Rotax Max Challenge Grand Final tickets heading to Bahrain will be up for grabs. And in an event that is open to all international drivers as well, too. One of the news is they announced the addition of the DD2 Masters category to the event. So now it's kind of the full range of categories for the event, including micro, mini, junior, senior, masters, DD2, and now DD2 Masters. DD2 Masters, however, will not be racing for a grand finals ticket. They will be racing for race Rotax dollars, while the other 6 categories, the overall winner of the weekend will receive the grand finals tickets. That's kind of what they also announced in this update with weekend kind of being a championship within its own, having 2 separate rounds on the weekend, a qualifying, pre-final, final format. Every session, you're going to get points. So whoever gathers the most points over the 2 days of racing, they're going to be crowned the overall event champion and earn the grand finals tickets, as well as other prizes to those who finish in the top 3 as well. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. Winner take all type mentality, which is cool. We love seeing that. I'll be there providing full ECAN live coverage with Henry Bodette, Mr. Rotax, the voice of Rotax Racing, on the microphone. They did announce technical director Mike Edwards is returning, along with sporting director Chris McCrone. So that is kind of the officials of the event. So again, it's kind of the winner take all mentality. A little similar to what we're seeing in Florida over the next 2 weekends, where they're having a 2-weekend championship program to decide the 2025 Rotax Grand Final tickets down there in Florida as well, too, for the Rotax Winter Trophy. Yep. It's different. The Race Rotax getting away from that 4-race kind of regional program they had in the West last year. They had a 2-weekend program in the East. So they're they haven't announced anything for the East, but I got to assume they're going to have a very similar type event in the East to provide some grand finals tickets. And we're still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with the U.S. Trophy Final that they did host towards the end of the year as well, too, handing out even more tickets. So still kind of waiting for news on that. But this is going to be on our schedule for February.
Yeah, David will be there. ECAN Trackside Live coverage. Henry Bodette, as David had said, the voice globally of the Rotax program, will be in Phoenix, Arizona for that one. February 21st to the 23rd. Mark it down in your calendar if you want to go be part of your team. Because, again, remember, it's open to international drivers, not just Team USA. Would not be surprised to see a bunch of guys coming down from Canada for that one. Very likely maybe some flying in as well from overseas. We'll see how many international drivers show up for the West event at the Phoenix Kart Racing Association. Time for a quick pit stop, folks. When we get back, we got a lot of information coming out from Briggs & Stratton. David's had a chance to connect with them quite a bit over the last week, and he will fill you in on what's dialing things up for the 2025 rule set. What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Sodi Kart. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season thanks to the new exclusive importer, the Karting Distribution, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Sodi Kart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has expanded its dealer network over the last year, bringing the Sodi brand to several local clubs and regional programs. The Sodi Racing USA by PK Sports is the official race team, producing many victories in different levels across the board. And the new Pro Race Academy is designed to cater to the next generation of motor racing, helping boys and girls aiming to make their mark. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about Sodi Kart chassis or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Sodi Kart, the world leader in the karting industry. If you're looking for close competition and tons of four-cycle fun, join the Cup Karts North America South Division for their exciting championship in 2025. The series made history with the 2025 edition of the CKNA Winter Nationals in Jacksonville, welcoming 247 entries over the 9 Briggs & Stratton 206 categories in early January. Action returns for the CKNA South program on March 28th to 30th at the Carolina Motorsports Park in Kershaw, South Carolina. A month later, the third stop of the 2025 season takes the CKNA South Series to the Monticello Kart Club in Monticello, Florida, which many call the best actual racetrack in the Sunshine State. The 2025 CKNA South Series finale is slated for a return to the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida, on June 6th to 8th. Visit cupcarts.com to learn more about the Cup Carts North America program, and be sure to follow the Cup Carts South Facebook page for updates on the events. Be part of the growing CKNA South Division in 2025. As it heads into its 18th season, the Challenge of the Americas has become the headline championship in the western half of North America. A new and exciting era for the Challenge begins, welcoming the new Shinko Racing kart tires as the official tire of the Challenge, while also expanding the series to 4 events in 2025. The 2025 season begins with a trip to one of the best racetracks in the country, the Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona, over the January 31st, February 2nd weekend. The March 7th to 9th weekend takes the Challenge of the Americas to the new K1 circuit for the first time in history. The much anticipated Winchester, California facility is slated to host the largest series event in recent history. A return to Sonoma Raceway moves to a month later than normal, racing over the April 25 to 27th weekend. The Sonoma, California facility hosts the 5th and 6th round of the Challenge Championship program. The 4th and final event of the 2025 season takes the Challenge to the Utah Motorsports Campus on June 13th to 15th. Father's Day weekend at the Grantsville, Utah facility, just outside Salt Lake City, will host the final 2 rounds of 2025. To learn more about this year's Challenge of the Americas, head to challengekarting.com. Welcome back to episode 84 of This Week in Karting. Rob Howden here alongside David Cole. It's January the 21st, 2025. I've been talking about all these February races, got that on the brain, still rolling into the end of January. Luckily, David and I are kind of getting a chance to be at home for a couple of weeks, which is great before everything breaks loose for 2025. As we said before, we'll head out to the Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona for the start of the Challenge of the Americas at the end of the month. From there, essentially, David, straight to back to Orlando for the SuperKarts USA Winter Series finale, rounds 3 and 4 of that program. But before we even think about that, David, we've had some conversations over the last little bit. In fact, I talked to Dan Roach from Briggs & Stratton while I was at the PRI show. He and I sat down and gabbed a little bit, but I know you and him have been going back and forth quite a bit regarding the 2025 rule set. A couple of new additions to the program.
Yeah, the focus primarily is around the new coil that has been released for the new engines that are being manufactured. That's kind of the focus. It is a new coil produced by Briggs & Stratton, so kind of an in-house situation where before it was a different company producing that. That company was bought out by a different manufacturer, and so the need to transition was in full effect.
Yes.
And Briggs & Stratton it's a unique coil that is providing a new LED light that will blink specific color when run to confirm the potted circuitry for a given class rev limiter. So you look at for all the categories, mostly they rev up to the 6,100 RPM limit that is implemented for the Briggs 206 engine. That's going to produce a green LED light. The other coil, which is a 4,100, essentially 4,100 RPM limit, that is a yellow color, and those are primarily used for the kid kart division. So, that's an interesting take on it. It's kind of a green light, red light situation. Wouldn't you agree, Rob? And whether the coil is good or not. So it'll be interesting to see it in person, learn a little bit more about it. I'm not sure if you saw that at the PRI show or not. I was not there. So
no, I didn't. Listen, you mentioned at the very start, it was really just kind of a supply program. PVL, which has been around for many, many years in terms of ignitions for karting, was the provider, the supplier of that coil. Obviously, as we know, it got bought by another manufacturer. In fact, kind of a rival engine producer. So Briggs & Stratton, of course, essentially forced to do it themselves. And I like it, man. Bring it in-house. I think the more you can bring in-house, the more you can control it, Dave, in terms of a manufacturer, the happier you're going to be. And I know the guys at Briggs are pretty thrilled about it and happy the way things are going. They've been working on it for a couple of years, that's for sure.
They have. It's been about a 2-year process. They did a lot of development over that time. They found it's very identical performance to the current coil that's being used out there. They did a lot of internal testing, on-track testing, third-party blind dyno testing. So, visiting the factory there a couple years ago, they have almost unlimited capability of testing these things with the amount of resources they do have there because of the company that they're in. You look at a lot of the products that the parent company produces. It's in the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands that they produce. So they rigorously test things over and over and over and over again. So there's no doubt when you say 2 years of development, they put in the work, and they have lots of people looking over that and lots of data to go over. But the great thing is they're working with the industry and the racing industry and getting members to try it, test it out on track, get people to test it out on their own dynos. Because again, as we all know, Rob, not every dyno reads the same.
That's very true.
So that's the weird thing. But you talk about supply chain. You look at the new rewind and cup that they do use on the engines. It's a new system put in now due to supply chain transition. So a new cup and rewind are on the new engines. Unfortunately, the new system not compatible with the previous system. So if you do get new rewind or cup, you're going to have to figure that out, because the new stuff does not work with the old systems at all. So it's kind of you have to do the complete system overhaul for it to work.
New security seal as well, right?
Yes, the hologram seal is no longer eligible for competition after January 15, 2025. So that was kind of announced last year that the hologram secure seal would not be allowed. So they have been implementing the new seal database with the serial numbers on the orange seal. That's been kind of the latest evolution of the seal. That I think this is the third or fourth possible different seal that we've used. I can't remember off the top of my head. I know there used to be, the original one that got phased out. Now the hologram seal is getting phased out. So the entire now 206 community is racing on the orange seal with the serial number. So there's no question. You can scan the seal. Briggs & Stratton is going to know exactly what this engine's done. So every engine in competition now after January 15th is going to have that same seal.
All right, what else we got? There's one more item, I believe, as part of the 2025 rule set.
Yeah, I'm not a big engine guy, so I'm not quite sure on what exactly this is. But there is a new corrosion-resistant coating that has been specified for current and future production. The geometry and materials remain unchanged, but the coating color is now a non-tech item on the valve springs. Check your valve springs. The color is no longer a tech item. So again, not sure that was a big deal, but I think it was worded, hey, it had to be a specific color. So that'll be that's kind of the deal about that. Not sure. I'm sure, Rob, you've been all over that.
Yeah, I haven't taken my valve cover off in forever, so I know you're supposed to.
Have you ever checked your valves?
I honestly actually know how to set my valve springs. I haven't done it in a long time, but I do know how.
I think I looked at it one time when we first started doing that. That was back in like 2012. So.
You and I don't race enough. We don't even have our own. What we got a cart in the garage at Newcastle now. We're gonna have to eventually do it, but
and that that's the great thing about all the engine builders. You just take it over to them. They'll look at it and be like, yeah, you're good.
Doesn't take very long. 100%. All right. Our second break. When we get back, we'll dive into everything we got going on the website, just so you know what's up there. If you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, we'll bring you up to speed on everything that's currently rolling on ekartingnews.com. In this day and age, if you need something for your karting program, it's just one mouse click away. One of the leading online stores in the sport of karting is tsracing.com. The Florida-based company has been serving the karting community for decades. TS Racing is one of the few kart shops with technical expertise in all divisions of karting. TS Racing's online superstore features a full range of the products you need to start karting today, or to restock your garage or trailer for the racing season. TS Racing is also the official distributor for Vega tires. For dirt, road racing, sprint, and the most popular 4-cycle tire with Cup Karts North America, a wide range of Vega compounds and sizes are available for your karting needs. Head over to tsracing.com today or call 352-793-9600 to learn more about the Vega Tire brand or the many products that they have at TS Racing. Take advantage of the deals available through RTX USA Group, an official distributor for Rotax karting products in the United States. RTX USA Group provides Rotax engines, Mojo tires, and XPS products to dealers and competitors in the southern U.S. states, from their base in Florida all the way to California. Take advantage of their engine purchase offer, which gives you 2 sets of Mojo D5 tires when you purchase a Rotax Max Evo or the Rotax DD2 Max Evo. For those looking to add a Rotax Micro Max Evo MY20 or a Rotax Mini Max Evo MY-I20 to their lineup, those customers will be provided with 2 sets of Mojo D2 tires. Customers who purchase a Rotax Junior Max Evo won't be left out, also receiving 2 sets of Mojo D2 tires. RTX is also introducing the new Mojo Club, with opportunities to save on Mojo tires by bundling them together. Learn more about becoming a dealer or joining the Mojo Club by visiting rtxkarting.com today. The Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is where out-of-the-box ease and outstanding consistency meet to create legendary races. Briggs & Stratton's history of motorsports dates back to when the first engines came off the assembly line in the early 1900s. Their focus on the grassroots level continues to help build generations of racers. Since 2008, the Briggs & Stratton 206 has gained a following that has the engine powering the largest fields in North American karting today. From the club level track programs to traveling regional series and national events, Briggs & Stratton competition provides the most exciting racing in the sport. Engineered and hand-built exclusively for racing, every Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is power tested and serialized before it goes in the box. Karters can take that engine straight from the box to their kart and be on the podium at the end of race day. Be sure to follow Briggs & Stratton Racing on Facebook and through @RaceBriggs on Instagram. To learn more about the 206 engine or to find the North American dealer near you, head to briggsracing.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing, what powers you? Welcome back to episode 84 of This Week in Karting here on the EKN Radio Network. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. January the 21st, 2025, and we'll wrap this one here up a little bit of a shorter This Week in Karting. David, a lot of editorial rolling out on EKN for the first 3 weeks of the year. I know you put some time into one of your behind the laptop columns. Talk about the by the numbers of 2024.
Yeah, the by the numbers was a look at trying to figure out not exactly, but a rough estimate of how many karters we do have competing here in the United States, both nationally, regionally. Looking at that, club is a little bit more different because it's very hard to gather all the data. But we kind of looked at the 17 kind of major programs, championships or one-off events that do happen over the course of the year. And that's what we looked at. We gathered all the driver names, put them all together, kind of did some numbers looking at that, roughly about just over 3,000 different unique names competed in those 17 programs or events in 2024. So it's good to kind of have that basis of numbers. We looked at regional racing. There's about 1,600 different names that were competing at the regional level. I want to say there was just over 500 drivers names competing at USPKS and SCUSA. I don't have the article in front of me, so I'm kind of going off the top of my head. It just kind of gave an outline, because that's one thing we haven't been able to really do is kind of pinpoint statistics around our sport, because that's one of the things about getting major corporations or sponsorships involved in the sport is what am I putting money in for, and who am I reaching? You can look at social media numbers all you want, but it's that having that kind of hardcore data in terms of actual people is kind of a better solution, I think. And that's one thing, not having a full national recognized organization kind of looking at that or promoting that or putting things together and keeping things aligned is kind of helps lack in that type of revenue or the revenue direction.
Dave, how many times have you been in a conversation with somebody? They ask you what you do for a living. You tell you, hey, listen, I work in the karting industry. I run this website. I'm the same way with what I do. And people, the first question is it really that big? Like they don't understand how big karting is. When you're armed with, hey, yeah, over 2,000 people or X amount, over 3,000 people race, nationally or regionally, and that's not counting the absolute foundation of the sport, which is club racing around the country. It's valuable information to have when you're talking to somebody who maybe doesn't know about the sport, whether it's just to get them into the sport because they're interested, or like you mentioned, potentially when it comes down to potential marketing or sponsorship.
And it tells you where the racers are kind of at too, as well too. When you look at the 1,600 drivers that were in the regional programs, that included programs in the Northwest, the South, the Midwest, the Southeast, the Northeast, all different areas of the country, and kind of tells you, okay, where's the majority of the regional racers in the country, and which was bigger, which Stars Championship Series was the biggest regional program in the country. But it also, the hindsight is those numbers, it doesn't exactly tell you where they're all coming from exactly too, because that over 3,000 drivers here in the United States, it's a lot of international drivers that came over to race at those events as well too. So that's the one thing we don't have, kind of breaking it down by country. Where are they coming from? How exactly how many are from the United States? That's where I'm looking at it beyond what I was able to produce. But the one commonality we continue to hear over year after year, because of where the entries were, say around 200 entries at major events, people were saying, well, it's the same 200 racers that are at these events. Well, I would say that there's about a good amount of, I would say 180 to 200 drivers who go to nearly every race around the country.
Yep.
That's correct. But you had over 500 drivers racing at Supercarts USA and USBKS on the year. So there is potential to have bigger and bigger events, very similar to what we saw just a couple weeks ago at Supercarts USA Winter Series, where it was the largest non-Super Nationals event in the organization's history.
Yep.
Well, I should say since 2010, because we don't exactly have any of the numbers prior to that in the previous ownership and the Promoto Tour. I don't think numbers were even close to that, because
not even close.
We didn't have the amount of classes we had back.
With 4 classes
we have now compared to back then. So,
exactly.
But again, still, it's just there's still more data to be gathered. My math degree kicks in a couple times a year, and that's what it did. And
you put the pocket protector in and go full math geek. I like it.
Wow,
it's good.
Never had a pocket protector, but I did have a big calculator.
Of course you did. Yeah. Hey, and listen, the other thing I like, David, you brought in, like you talk about that as well, but is CKNA. The fact that there was over 1,000 unique racers running in the CKNA events.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. So when you combine, all the different programs plus Cup Carts North America, that's where you get the over 3,000 names, and there was a lot of crossover between people who do quote unquote 2-cycle events, because yes, there are regional programs that did both 2-cycle and 4-cycle, but Cup Carts is strictly 4-cycle. So we kind of did a separate one for that, and there is crossover. There's probably a couple hundred crossover that did either regional programs or national programs for both. So that alone, it tells you how much larger the Cup Carts Grand Nationals could be when you look at over 1,000 names competing at the regional or divisional level, and the big events they did have, because there's drivers who might do the Spring Nationals or the Winter Nationals or the Summer Nationals, but not do the Grand Nationals. So it gives you a sense of hope and allows you to look at the possible potential of all the events, even the regional programs, because again, we still know numbers can grow at the regional level, because based on how good our clubs are doing across the country as well too.
Yeah. Indeed, part of the ECAN editorial program is, of course, our race reports, whether we write them from home after the event or a trackside like the Supercarts USA Winter Series. David knocking that out for the first round in Orlando of the Winter Series. Also, David, you produced a couple of race reports for the CKNA Winter Nationals, which were at Jacksonville right around the New Year's time. And, of course, just this past weekend, you just threw up a report of the Florida Winter Tour opener from Orlando.
I was just going to say the CKNA Winter Nationals was a record event, the first time over 200 entries for that event. So again, it has the potential to grow. They're looking at the Grand Nationals being over 600 this year. So again, it's a great way to kind of monitor, all the businesses do, and if I'm not doing it, there's a lot of the importers and manufacturers who are taking in all these numbers and kind of comparing, how many carts are on the track, how many are carts that are on track, how many are rivals on track. So love data, love looking at that.
I know you do. Obviously a lot of podcasts coming out already. As we had said, folks, started the season off with This Week in Karting just a couple of weeks ago, episode 83. That was January the 2nd. And again, part of our ECAN trackside coverage, we do have both our Outlap preview podcast and our debrief race report podcast. Both of those are now available on any podcast platform, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, whatever it may be. David and I wrapped up those for the SCUSA Winter Series. Of course, as I said earlier, we'll be heading to the Challenge of the Americas at the end of the month. So be on the lookout for another Outlap preview podcast for that event before we head out to Tucson. David, we've been rolling on the ECAN Radio Network as well. When you produce this much content, it allows us to put a bunch of stuff up on the ECAN Radio Network, which is, of course, if you're new, a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week channel. You can download the ECAN Radio Network app or go to ekartingnews.com/radio. We're constantly rolling things on there. This episode of This Week in Karting, David will be there. And one of the cool things that you play with and throw up a lot of times is our rewinds, right, Dave, which are our kind of our past coverage, the audio play-by-play of events. And I think what do you got out there now? The Challenge of the Americas is going on these days here.
Yeah, over the last few days, we've been kind of focusing on that because that's our next trackside event. And we got a lot of years of that. We've been going to the Challenge since 2012, and we've been doing live coverage from every event since then. So all those events we have in our database and be able to play on the ECAN Radio Network. We're focusing on a lot of the Tucson events because that's where we'll be going here next weekend. So it's great to hear back. You look at the first ever event we went to, two big names stand out: Stingray Robb and Christian Brooks, because that's the photo we use. And so, looking back then to they were mini max racers back then.
Wow. Just a little opportunity to feel old. That's fantastic. And watch out for lots more coming, folks, because we do have a number of face-to-face shows coming up with the new series getting rolling. As you know, we like to take the opportunity to talk to the series promoters. We'll get Brittany Lobaugh in here pretty soon to talk about the Texas Sprint Racing Series. They're going to get ready to rock and roll here shortly with their opener at Speed Sports. We'll make sure we sit down with the guys from USPKS to chat with them. We normally check in with the guys from the Pacific Northwest. We'll go all around the horn to talk to all the major promoters, that are getting things underway, and watch for those coming. We haven't had a roundtable in a while, Dave. We got to come up with another good topic and get a roundtable going with a bunch of industry members.
Yeah, and again, it's just timing. December was a busy month. Yeah. We finally got through all that, and now we're into January. February is going to be a little busy. So if we do a roundtable, it's going to have to be coming up pretty soon. Maybe we'll do one live. Maybe if trackside, maybe that.
I like that. That'd be fun.
We could always do it in the challenge trailer.
That would get really good. Yeah, right. You said February's busy. I'm like, we're Tucson, Orlando. I think I'm home for about 10 days, and I'm back on the road for USF Pro Championships down to NOLA for spring training.
I go to Phoenix,
and St. Pete. Yeah, you're going to Phoenix. You go to Phoenix while I'm at spring training, and then. Cool thing about spring training, of course, is so many young karters we've talked about over the last number of years will be there. Guys debuting in USF juniors like Ty Fisher jumping in. Sebastian Garzon just getting announced for D-Force Racing. David, the double winner from the Super Nats, is going to be running for D-Force in USF 2000.
Yeah, cool. we teased that in our Driver of the Month article for Driver of the Month in November, which published last month. And he did say he was going to do some car racing this year. Moved up to the senior ranks, was was among the top drivers at the SCUSA Winter Series program in KA Senior. So, yeah, I think he'll be doing a little double dipping whenever he can. So, based obviously around the car schedule and when he can be able to get back behind the wheel of a kart. So,
yeah, well, lots of kids that we've seen in the year, like obviously Anthony Martella was running 125 at SCUSA. He'll be running with Jay Howard in USF 2000. Brad Majman was there as well, the driver who formerly won the Super Nationals back in the micro category. He was running at Orlando as well.
Yeah, you guys got me on that. I had no idea he was in the field. Again, you look at names, and again, micro names are hard to remember unless they stay in the sport or at least in the country for a number of years. So I can continue to remember the name, but I do remember him coming out and picking up that victory there in Vegas at the.
And I was going to ask you, David, because you always have this. Was he on a Deadly or an Arrow?
That was. I want to say it was a Kart Republic because
there you go.
David Serra was working with him, but they were under the Kart Sport North America tent, which I'm pulling up the file right now. But
I'm just trying to throw it up there too.
My file doesn't like me right now. It's not opening. Here we go. Super Nationals Micro. What year was that again? You said 2019?
19, I think.
Let me see. Brad. Yep, Kart Republic. So that was a year because that was I think he was under the Kart Republic or the Kart Sport North America tent. David Serra was there. I think that's the year, but it was a Kart Republic.
Yeah, he went over to Europe, right? Did a lot of work, a lot of racing with Parolin too.
Yeah, I did not know that. That. Yeah, again, like I said, if they're not here for a couple of years, it's hard to remember the name. I mean, there's look at Vinny Phillips, who won in micro in 2017. Vincentius Tesaro, the Brazilian.
Yeah. He ran USF. He ran a cup. No, he did. I think he ran the first USF Juniors race last year. Yeah,
I think they both done some car racing. You look at Ben Mayer, just moving over to late model racing and picking up a victory somewhere down south. So he won in 2018. Some kid named Keelan Harvick, not sure about that. Yeah,
I'm looking at Bradley Majman's Instagram right now. He's got a picture with Sarah and Will Power. So 100%, David, you got that bang on that they were under the. Oh, there's a great shot with the flag too. Yeah, under the as you said, under the Kart Sport North America tent. Sarah driver development, good stuff. David Cole on it, nicely done.
That's what I do.
You better. I pay you every month. All right, listen, let's wrap things up. What's coming on ekartingnews.com? It's going to be trackside. We got a bunch of stuff going on trackside. We already mentioned the fact January 31st to February the 2nd for Challenge of the Americas, opening up that 4-round program at the Musselman Honda Circuit. From there, we're right back at it the following Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, February 7th to the 9th. The SuperKarts USA Winter Series will round up at the Orlando Kart Center, as David mentioned. Was it 316 entries, David, the new record outside the Super Nats? So we'll see how many we get maybe for the finale weekend.
Yeah, well, we typically have that drop off. So I'm not quite sure we'll get that. But it was a record setting event. I got to say, I'm going to say about 280, maybe to 270 to 280 is where we'll end up.
That's your prediction?
Yeah.
So that's what we got coming, folks. As you know, a trackside event. So you're going to get Outlap preview podcasts. You're going to get Debrief Race Report podcast. We'll wrap those all up. Of course, trackside coverage at the Challenge of the Americas. We'll have our EKN live coverage there with my audio from the website or from the trackside there. And of course, when we do the SCUSA Winter Series, I'll once again sit down with the Xander Clemens and the good folks from Kart Chaser. David, before we wrap things up, talk about what's coming on ekartingnews.com. Do you have any teasers of stuff you're working on editorially right now as well?
This week, we got Driver of the Month coming out for December. That'll be posted today. We'll have a little appetizer of the Texas Sprint Racing Series, nice. Talking about their 2025 season.
That's
nice. Drop of the mic there.
And
a couple other articles we're working on. Look at Factory Karts 2025 season. Kind of a look at profile of Brandon Jarzakrak Racing. Lots in the hopper that we're working on each day, every day. So just a little bit here and there.
So just a reminder to Wyatt Lloyd that you are full time at ekartingnews.com.
Yes, make sure you remind Wyatt every day.
All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of This Week in Karting. Again, we'll try to do another one. Maybe early in February when we're home. Actually, no, let me look here. Yeah, this is ridiculous.
We'll do one mid-February. My birthday.
Maybe mid-February. Yeah, sometime between the 11th and the 14th when I'm home. So we'll knock another one out for sure. Anyways, otherwise, that wraps things up. Bring you up to speed on everything going on here at ekartingnews.com. Thank you for tuning in, folks. My name's Rob Haddon, of course. David Cole with me, as always. Bye for now.